I think the overall business environment today is far better. It's great to see, unemployment as low as what it is.
Yep.
Great to see, just recently
Income going up.
income going up. I mean, income up. This last quarter, the
3%, I
three
just saw, yeah.
percent, 3% hasn't been 3% in over 10 years.
This is No Excuses with John Taffer.
Every once in a while, I get to have a guest here who inspires me. And Derek, you inspire me, buddy. So I have Derek Stevens, who's owner of the D in downtown Las Vegas, one of the best entrepreneurs in our city. I got to tell you, Derek. And you have an incredible story. So first, welcome.
Thank you very much, John. I appreciate being here. And boy, what an intro. That's a little crazy, but thank you very much.
Well, anybody who doesn't know you, your reputation should precede you. But you have a great story. You grew up in Detroit.
Yeah, I did. I grew up on the east side of Detroit and kind of lived all around Metro Detroit for my first 20 some years.
I'll tell you a story that very few people know. I owned professional bartender schools in Detroit. And many years ago, I had a school at the Adams Theater there.
Oh, okay.
At the Adams Circle, rather, right, by the Kale, and spent a whole bunch of time in Detroit. I lived in a Pontchartrain hotel downtown for about 6 months. And I remember seeing Detroit start to fall back then as a city. But you were in the auto business, right? You were a supplier to the auto industry?
Yeah, I'm a supplier to the auto industry, and still involved in that business as well. And yeah, that's kind of how I kind of grew up and where I cut my teeth.
Gotcha. So being in that business, that's a business that's changed a lot over the years.
Oh yeah, it sure has. It sure has, right? And it continues to change. It's one of those industries that's a critical industry for America. But yeah, it's something that always changes, and vehicles and models and choices keep evolving. That's for sure.
Yeah. Even you're a supplier to the auto industry. There's always Japanese or foreign competitors that jump in. So is that like a given business, or do you still have to fight for it every year?
Oh no, it's a fight. It's a fight every year. Our prices, we have to bid them out regularly, and prices generally have to go down. So you have to be more productive year over year. So it's an exceptionally competitive business.
And then you have, of course, rising labor costs, operating expenses, but yet that pressure to reduce cost is on you constantly.
Yeah, you have to reduce cost, and in this this past year we've had another unique pressure, which are the steel tariffs. So all of a sudden our raw material costs have increased quite a bit in the last 8 months.
And how do your clients, do they understand that and expect that pass through, or that causes some pressure for you?
Oh, it's a lot of pressure. Nobody expects allows a pass through, so you have to negotiate and spend a lot of time negotiating.
So you grew up in a competitive world then. You were a competitor in business when you were young?
Yeah, I kind of grew up in that industry, and I was really kind of always used to it. I mean, every year you have to get better, or you get thrown out. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, you're a great promoter, though. Knowing you in Vegas, you're very promotionally oriented, aren't you?
You know what? Since I came to Las Vegas, it's one of those things that's kind of evolved. For myself and our companies, and the best part of it is we always try to have a lot of fun, and as long as we're having fun, and we come up with some crazy ideas sometimes, and a lot of them don't work, but some do.
Yeah.
But the nice thing, we're a privately held company, so
You're nimble.
I'm not sweating out my numbers to the analysts. So
Right, the equity groups aren't on your back.
Right. So we're willing to try things probably a little bit more than others, and that's one thing I really promote with our team is like, come on, let's come up with more ideas, more creativity, and then make sure that when something doesn't work, we embrace
The failure.
Yeah, and we say, okay, well, we learned something from it, so we're going to move on.
And let's just document it so we don't do it again next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you were in Detroit. You're doing well in Detroit. Were you a gambler when you were young? Did you like gaming as just a general activity?
Well, I was always somebody that loved sports, and I would say a younger guy that loves sports and somebody that kind of loves math. Well, you can kind of figure out where my first gambling was. It was betting on games,
Gotcha.
So yeah, so I started betting on sports, and I love it. I bet on sports to this day. I mean, I just love I love the additional adrenaline you get from making a wager on the game. And yeah, I've always been involved. From a gambling or gaming perspective, that was my early stages.
So one day you said to yourself, I'm going to go to Las Vegas and buy a casino.
Well, it wasn't quite one day. Sometimes when you look back at things, you might say, "Well, it's an overnight deal," but no, it was a pretty long story, and I won't go into the details. But in the automotive industry, there's a lot of pressure to open plants in China, open plants in other locations, and the one thing I'm probably the proudest of is the fact that all of our plants are, in the United States. We ship parts to China. We ship parts to Canada, Mexico, Japan, Thailand, and things like
You're
that.
a patriotic guy, as a general rule.
Yeah, I mean, that for me is a pretty big deal. It's fair to say I'm a big pro-American type of guy,
Yeah.
and I love products that are made in the USA type of thing. And I would say what ended up happening was we decided that we were going to move some of our investment portfolio to a state that didn't have an income tax. So we moved our investment business to Nevada, and happened to be in Las Vegas. And I'd been in Las Vegas many times for trade shows
Sure.
and work, but also for pleasure because I love Las Vegas. And
What's not to love?
yeah, that's right. So we moved our investment portfolio over out here, and that was great. But I've always been an operator. I'm not really a passive investor.
You're a hands-on guy.
I don't love managing a portfolio, but I love running companies. And we had an opportunity to buy in what I thought was a pretty unique business in the Golden Gate Hotel and Casino. It's right along Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas. The oldest building in the history of Vegas. Address is 1 Fremont.
I didn't know that.
And it's a small little place, and it gave me an opportunity to get into a number of different businesses that I hadn't been in before, which is food, beverage, hotel, slot business, table business, and such. And we kind of thought that, well, let's see what happens. We're gonna kind of renovate it and see how this thing grows, and it started growing. And
Did it surprise you? Did you beat the goals that you thought you'd achieve in the beginning?
I would say we knew we were going to come in and add a little bit of capital. We were going to renovate things, and that was maybe a little bit of a struggle for 6 months. But then all of a sudden, things started coming on. Now realize I bought this in March of 2008, and if you recollect, at that point in time, that's when this big recession happened.
Yep.
So we had the overall economic situation occurring across the country, and that's right when we kind of bought in. I think we got a pretty good deal. We got a pretty good price on the deal. But it allowed us to kind of get into the business in an economy that was contracting, but really what it did was it gave us an opportunity to really kind of learn a number of things.
Yes, you learned operations under a little pressure, which is a good way to learn it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
So you come into Vegas. So then you acquired the D, which is now the D. And so was that a second transaction? So now you came into Vegas, you were getting your feet wet, you liked it?
Yeah. So by about 2010, we were. My brother and I, we were excited about wanting to grow in Las Vegas. We like the hotel casino business, and then we had an opportunity in 2011 to buy another property downtown called Fitzgerald's at the time. So
Which is how many rooms?
it's 629 hotel rooms.
Big hotel, big
Yes.
casino, great property.
Thank you.
Great location.
Yeah. So for us, it was the first opportunity we had. We did a full reno. So it's the tallest building in downtown, so 34 stories. So we renovated all 34 stories, all new hotel rooms, suites, and two new gaming floors, new restaurants like Andiamo where we had dinner and things like that.
Yep.
And it's been able to grow since then. So we've had a lot of fun growing that business, and we've really fallen in love with downtown Las Vegas. It's great to see this resurgence happening in downtown Las Vegas.
Well, that's where the history is. You go back to the James Bond movies, and Fremont Street was a history of Vegas, and these are marquees that will live in history forever. And to think that now, Derek, you're leading that history. And I know I'm going to make you blush, but you are. So I want everybody to know. So I go to the D, and Derek and I have had some dinner together. We can call ourselves friends, certainly. And there's not a lot of large casino owners that you can walk into their casino, walk up to the lobby bar, And there's Derek with his wife, smiling, laughing, talking to customers. You are in your business. Honestly, I've never seen a hotel that is more of a reflection of the personality of its owner than the D.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, coming from you and with your background, that's something.
But
But
it's true. You know, you're fun. You have fun when you're there. And it shows. And the building becomes fun. And the employees become fun. And there's a special quality about you, Derek, that causes this energy and this dynamic around you. As a result, those of you who haven't been to the D, you got to go because it has this fun and this energy to it. And I really believe it's a reflection of your personality and the way you've put this together.
well, I think we spend a little bit of time. We try to hire characters. So we've got a lot of characters. We've got a lot of personalities there, but
Well, you're one yourself.
well, I guess I fit into that mix. Yeah, we try to get people that wake up in the morning, can't wait to get to work, and are always smiling, and always coming up with something. So we have a lot of fun doing what we're doing, and I think that's a real important element when we have a guest coming in from out of town, whether they're coming from Cleveland or New York or Cheyenne, Wyoming or LA. We really try to make sure that all of our people know that, hey, we have a guest checking in on Friday, and they're going to be here until Sunday night. They're going to give us 48 hours of their life. Let's make sure we do something memorable for them. Let's make sure that they get to have the time of their life, and we respect the fact that, yeah, they might be buying a hotel, but we respect that they're willing to give us their time and they want to stay with us. So we really try to go a little bit over the top and make sure people have these great memorable weekends.
You and I share this, and this is a philosophy. I feel when somebody comes in a restaurant or bar or your hotel, they've entrusted us. They could go anywhere. And that's a really big responsibility. And how do we let them down? We can't do that. Now, you're just like me. You can't live with yourself if you let them down. So it's not only good food and good drinks, and good fair gaming and good equipment. You want to make them smile.
Absolutely. I mean, we want people, in the gaming industry, you're gonna have players that win. You're gonna have players that lose. Obviously, when somebody wins, they're generally more happy. But
Yep.
but on the same point, when somebody ends up leaving a little bit of money on the tables, we want to make sure that they feel good, that they had a great time,
Get some value for their money.
Yeah, and the winning and losing is one thing, but it's the 48 hours or 72 hours somebody's willing to give you, and whatever the special occasion is, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, or just out with buddies, we want to make sure people have this great time.
Yeah, you do. And when you're out in a room like that, you sense it when it's not right. Absentee ownership doesn't really work in this business, does it?
It's different. I like being hands on, and I like my guys being hands on. I love the fact that our management group has this group text that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and man, it goes off. 50 to 100 texts, and literally it can be 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the morning. It doesn't matter. We always have somebody going. We're always communicating, and we're always excited about it.
Well, you got a great team. So, okay, so now you own the D, right? I'm guessing the D I know it's been very successful. The place is packed all the time. So now you're a significant operator in town with those properties. So did the D exceed your expectations?
Well, we bought it in 2011, and it was a few years worth of renovation. So, we kind of struggled our way through that. We always kept the hotel open, so that was an interesting process, and it's probably a process going forward. It's something I probably wouldn't want to do again, just because it's so difficult to create these great experiences
on a construction site.
When you have so much renovation and demolition and pardon my dust sign. And for over 3 years we were like that. It just makes it tougher to create these memorable experiences. So, now that we've gone through that and basically that reno's complete and everything, now we're able to operate, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So now this is the best part of the D, I guess. Everything's finished and it's the way you want it to be.
Yeah. Did it exceed expectations? I would say, well, when we first started, I would say we kind of knew what we were getting into, but the more we got into it, the more additional things we wanted to do, So when you look back with a 5-year look back, I would say absolutely, it definitely exceeded where we wanted to go, and it's been a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I would think so, because when you walk in the building, you can see all the bodies. So obviously we're doing well. Okay, so now after that, You then decided, okay, I'm going to take the next level, and you're now starting, I'm guessing, the biggest project of your life. Is that fair?
Yep, that's absolutely correct.
So you just announced, what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, your new project, and I just want to ask you this for fun. Give it to me in a few sentences. I want to hear how you present it because it's so big. There's so much to present. I want to hear what you say.
Yeah, when we announced it, this is a project we've been working on for a couple of years, so it's kind of great to have this big name announce and announce, and all the renderings of what the new hotel is going to look like and all the special attractions and things like that. And what we wanted to do is we're in downtown Las Vegas, and I'm a big one on history, on Vegas history. So we wanted to kind of celebrate all these great entrepreneurs and pioneers that came before us, So I would say, we've tried to take all those moments in time, whether it's 1950 or 1970 or 1990, all those moments when you have these great, hotel casino fellas. Let's say from Jay Sarno with Caesar's Palace, and then Bill Bennett with Circus, and then the Luxor, and then Steve Wynn,
and Steve and Binions, and
and all those moments. Obviously the Mirage was a big watershed property for Las Vegas.
Yep.
But even before that, those moments when Jackie Gone had something or Benny Binion did, they all had these great things that at certain moments in time. And I remember myself, as a sports fan. I remember myself the first time I walked in. At that time, it was called the Las Vegas Hilton, and I walked into that Superbook, and it was that moment of awe. I looked up at that Superbook, and I thought, "Oh my, I'm in the greatest place on earth."
We've never seen anything to that scale before.
Right.
And that's what we have in Vegas is scale, height, width, depth. I mean, nobody has the scale that we do. So you were blown away by that.
Yeah, there's just certain memories for me when we can come into Las Vegas over many years. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that sports book, how wonderful this is. And then, some of the great pools that I saw at the Mirage at that time. And then, the first time I walked through Bellagio, I thought, holy smokes, is that great? And, the history at Caesars. So what we wanted to do in our design, we wanted to create all these, wow moments, these moments of awe where people could come in and we said we're going to build the biggest and most dramatic sports book in Las Vegas history. So that'll be part of Circa.
Yep.
We're going to have, I would say I've described it as our pool, 6 pools, and it's more than a pool. It's an event space. It's big. And I've said it's not going to be the best pool downtown. It's not going to be the best pool in Las Vegas. This is going to be the best pool in American history in America. So we really tried to do things that I think are going to be great for the town and create more reasons for people to come to this great city.
So you've done everything in this project to push it to the next level. But yet it's interesting. You've done it with a respect for the history in the past. So you're trying to introduce the new with a respect for the past. That's an interesting approach, and so you're really hats off to Old Vegas. But when I see the renderings in the building, this is cutting edge. What you're building? How many rooms?
Well, we're going to open with 500 hotel rooms. We're going to open. It'll be the tallest building downtown, so about 100 feet taller than D. And we're gonna shell out a handful of rooms, and we're gonna finish those a couple years down the road. Once we know how the building wants to operate, because I wanted to shell out some floors, because we may need to have more standard hotel rooms. We might need to add more suites. So that's why we want to shell out a handful and allow us to operate so that we can make an optimal capital decision, at some point further down the road.
Right. So when is your anticipated opening date?
Our anticipated opening date is the end of next year, end of December 2020.
Gosh, you're gonna be going 24/7 on this baby.
Oh yeah.
Nobody builds faster than Las Vegas. Have you noticed that, Derek?
That's right. You're right.
I mean, there's everybody 3 shifts a day. Everything we do in this town, even the construction on the roads and everything, is much faster here than any place else.
It really is. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to say something to you. I want to hear your reaction. Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh boy. For a kid that grew up in Detroit, I had the ability to see the impact of hockey on the community I grew up in Detroit, and when
hockey city,
hockey town, and when Bill Foley and the Maloofs called and they said, "Hey, we're going to bring this team here. Do you want to be part of like this group?" I think it was called the Founding 75 or something, where basically we had to go out and sell tickets.
Yep.
But boy, it was an easy sell. I could tell you that. And the interesting thing was, I think Las Vegas had so much energy to have its first major league level sports team that people wanted to get into it. But then what happened was just stunning. I mean, to have a sport that's that exciting, and so many people went to their very first NHL game here in the last year. And I think when people go, they're blown away.
The energy's incredible.
Energy inside of T-Mobile, and
The
boy,
work ethic.
yeah, the nice players and the energy inside there. And I think people are really kind of blown away. The Golden Knights have done such a great job. Obviously, on the ice last year was just ridiculously great. But the whole element throughout the community. I mean, the Golden Knights have really done something great for our community.
You know, at the end of the month, you're going to shake a lot of hands. You're going to see a lot of smiling faces in your properties. You're going to get a check, in theory. What means the most to you every day?
Oh, you know, I would tell you what I really love is I love the fact that I get to talk to my team every day, and we're always coming up with some way to get better. There's an element of continuous improvement that probably gets me more excited than anything else. I love thinking about whether it's an annual event. So let's say Super Bowl. Okay, so let's Super Bowl. How are we going to make it a little bit better? You know, if it was a few weeks ago, like it was Consumer Electronics Show. How are we going to make it? So all these annual events, and then then you have the weekly. Like, how are we going to make this Saturday better than last Saturday? And there's this excitement of trying new things. I just love it, and I think my team loves it, and that's what really gets me going every day.
Yeah, so you're a pretty creative guy, actually.
Well, we try.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. We're so much alike. There is, I don't think, any property in Las Vegas that has more promotions than you.
Yeah, we try a lot. Yeah, we have a lot. We've got a lot.
Between your concerts and your gambling promotions. I mean, you have so much promotional activity going on. It electrifies the property. It gives us this energy that's incredible.
That's true. We want to make sure that when somebody comes and they give us a few days out of their life and they want to get away from some of their hometown worries or whatnot, that we want to make sure they've got something new, fresh, and something that's exciting.
Yeah. So you've lived a remarkable life. You know, you're born into an industry, right? You were born into a business, but you've made this so much your own. What would you say to that person who is stuck in another city and has dreams in another place? Where did you get the courage to do this?
Well, I don't know that I think the easiest way to say it is, you show up to work and you show up a lot and you try to come in early and you try to leave late and then on your wins and losses, every win you have, you gain a little more confidence and you kind of go from there. I wouldn't say it was any one dramatic. There's no watershed moment, but I think back about. Boy, I spent a lot of years being the first guy opening the door at a manufacturing plant, and I think that's a great thing. I tell that to a lot of people. I mean, they ask, well, what can we do? I go, just show up. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Just show up. As long as you're there, something's going to happen, and you make your own luck.
You do, and not only show up, shake as many hands as you can, look in as many eyes as you can, build as many relationships as you can. So my grandfather used to say, life isn't how thick your checkbook is; it's how thick your phone book is. It was a way. It's a
good way to say it.
It is. So now you have Cirque's going to keep you busy for a couple of years, 2-3 years for sure. Do you have visions past that?
Well, this is the biggest project we've ever had, so we're going to have a couple years of going through the construction phase on this project while still operating the Golden Gate and the D in the downtown Las Vegas Event Center. So that's going to keep us busy for the next couple of years, and then. Once Circa opens, then we get to run, a 3-property group, and we know that it's going to take, we know year 2 is going to be better than year 1, year 3 is going to be better than year 2. So I think we got our hands full here for a while.
Yeah, I bet you do. Let's talk about Detroit for a couple of seconds, because I go to Detroit often, and what's going on in Detroit is unbelievable as far as an explosion and stuff. As a Detroit local, and I know you identify yourself very much as a Detroit guy. What's going on? Are you excited, and is it as exciting as we all hear as those who don't live in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when I went to Michigan for my undergrad, so when I left Ann Arbor, I moved to downtown Detroit back when I was 21, and, there wasn't much going on, and a lot of abandoned buildings. Yep. Come 5 or 5:30 at night, I mean, the city was, it was very desolate.
Yes.
wasn't safe. You didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah. No bedrooms downtown.
There was really no one was living downtown. I mean, the population had declined, so dramatically. Detroit was the only city, it still is the only city in America that actually lost 1 million people of population within the city proper. So it went from 2 million to below 1 million people, and what happened was you had this urban sprawl. So now you've got these developments that was an hour east of Detroit, an hour north, hour west, and it left this kind of vacant area, and it was abandoned to the point where, for budgetary reasons, they quit lighting up streetlights.
Right, and tried to close down whole communities.
I mean, closing down square miles within the city, where fenced it off, where there was no water, no sewer, no power, no lights, and it was really unbelievable to see what happened. But then all of a sudden, after really 40 years of this decline, boom, in the last 5 years, I mean, I think
was there a trigger?
Yeah,
was there something you felt when it happened?
I think we all kind of felt something was happening, but it's really I got to really pin it on a couple of guys. Mike Ilitch and then the Ilitch family. They're the owners of Little Caesars Pizza. They're the owners of the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Red Wings. They put a lot of their money, their corporate money, their family money into various projects downtown. And then there's this other guy that came in a little bit later, and boy, what an impact he's had. His name is Dan Gilbert, the owner of Quicken Loans. He's a native Detroiter and
one of our sponsors, by the way.
Very good. Dan's into 10 digits here of investment, in downtown, and all of the new offices and now housing, and now all of a sudden Detroit's become this cool place for these young kids.
It's hip again.
My son just graduated from Georgetown this spring, and the first thing he did is he got an apartment in downtown Detroit. And I thought, oh man, that is so cool.
I used to have an apartment in the Jeffersonian.
Oh yeah,
it was right on the water many years ago.
Okay.
It was one of the only apartment buildings downtown back then. I remember.
Yep.
So Detroit is it's an exciting time for Detroit. It really is. So I don't want to get political with you, but when we look at all the economic policies that have come down upon us a year, as a business person who's multifaceted, do you see a better business climate today as an investor, as a business operator, than you did years ago? And I'm saying post tax cuts, and I'm just trying to make a business question to you, not a political one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think some of the economic policies today are better than where we were 5 or 10 years ago. I think the ability for companies to accelerate some depreciation and other things like that. That's something that maybe in mainstream in the mainstream it's probably not the greatest cocktail party talk, but boy, it makes a big difference when you can make an investment and you can accelerate your depreciation. I think the overall business environment today is far better. It's great to see unemployment as low as what it is. It's great to see just recently income going up. I mean, income up. This last quarter, the 3% hasn't been 3% in over 10 years. To see wages go up like that, and when you see good employment and you low unemployment numbers, and you see wages going up, there's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of projects and there's investment, and overall, I'm pretty excited about the current business environment.
Yeah, me too. Are you finding that the change in regulatory issues and tax structure, are you finding that you're quicker to do a capital improvement, quicker to hire more people, quicker to go into a new project?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, I think December of 2018 told us a lot, because there's an awful lot of companies that were deciding, okay, I'm gonna accelerate this renovation. I'm gonna accelerate this investment because I want to get it into 2018 tax year. So I think sound tax policy really can impact the economy and employment very positively.
Yeah, it's funny. I hosted the evening edit on Fox Business the last week of December when the Fed did that last hike.
Yeah.
And everybody was freaking out, and the market had made that climb. Now we finished off with the best January in 10 years, et cetera. So as a business person, as an investor, as an employer, are you jubilant about the future, confident about the future? How do you feel?
I definitely think that the economy's in a good place, and I think barring a big externality, potentially, a relationship change between China and the United States,
Yep.
or how Brexit plays out.
Yep.
I think the economy in the U.S. is in as good a position, that in my opinion in the last 20 years. I think there's a lot of good things happening. So I'm very bullish on the future.
Yeah, me too. And I'm seeing it impact. It's wonderful, but it's impacting people like you and I, but it's also impacting the people that work for us. It's really wonderful to see.
Absolutely.
Derek, I want to thank you for a moment. As one who lives in Las Vegas, I love this city. I moved here from New York. You moved here from Detroit. And I have one question to ask you when we leave. You've done a lot for this town. You have. Your sponsorship, your support, your charitable nature. You are, and I'm going to make you blush, you're our next Steve Wynn.
Oh, gosh.
You are.
I'm just one of the guys down the road. I'm glad I'm part of it right now. But boy, there's some really big guys here, in the history of Las Vegas. And I guess I don't take myself all that seriously. I just like to keep growing. And it's nice of you to say that. But we're just small guys down here. But we're going to keep growing.
How many employees will Circa have?
We should have about 1,500.
1,500 jobs. That's pretty terrific, buddy.
Yeah.
And good jobs.
Yeah.
In a great place to live. So hopefully some more people move to Las Vegas. You're going to need them.
That's right. We're actively recruiting, and that's a pretty cool story. I mean, we recruit from all the hospitality schools, Cornell, Michigan State, UNLV, and it's great to see some of these young people get into the workforce and get going. So we'll be creating some jobs. So that's exciting.
Okay, here's my last question for you, because I've heard both sides of this story. You named your hotel the D. Now, I've heard that's after Detroit. I thought it was after Derek. Where did the D come from? Give me the conclusive answer.
The conclusive answer, you're right on both accounts. I will tell you.
Both?
What happened was we renamed Fitzgerald's the D in 2012. 2012 was the year that the city of Las Vegas declared it was the year of downtown. So first it was named for D for downtown. Number two, the D's not a Detroit themed casino, but it was something that my brother and I wanted to do. It's a little bit of a tip of the cap to our hometown. So we always, I revere Detroit, and it's more of a little of a tip of the cap from where we came from, and everybody calls it the D when you're from Detroit. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, a lot of my friends, they all just call me D. So just, it just kind of happened.
It was perfect. It all came together.
It all worked out.
The stars aligned.
Yeah.
Steve Wynn is a good friend of mine, and a lot of the casino owners in town are good. I want people to know that wealth doesn't take one's heart away, and wealth doesn't take one's smile away. You're a great guy. You are. You're an incredibly relatable guy. You have a good heart. You're really good for this city, and it's an honor to talk to you. Thank you for being here, Derek.
Thank you. I appreciate being here, and I've had a lot of fun, and I appreciate what you're doing in Las Vegas. I mean, this is such a great city.
It is the best city of all to live in. I would never leave this town. Yeah. Great. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
If you love my No Excuses podcast, hit subscribe at Apple Podcasts, go to podcastone.com or the Podcast One app, and you'll get your new episodes every Tuesday morning.